Also, Harrison, don't forget that your mic is muted.
Yes, I just realized that, and I couldn't figure out how to turn on my mic without like stopping the screen sharing. Sorry. Let me just see. Okay, how's that?
I think just make it full screen and you're good.
Fantastic. Okay, can everyone see the slideshow?
Affirmative.
Correct.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, thank you guys. So I was the chair of the dining committee for this past term, and if the other members of the dining committee want to introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Lauren Wolf, and I helped out with the dining committee. It was my primary committee for the 2019-2020 SGA school year.
Hello, I'm McQuay. I'm also a member of the dining committee. I also helped out with resolutions passed and work towards the the accomplishments of the committee.
My name is Will Smith. I'm also a member of the dining committee. And I'm a member of a couple of other committees as well, but we'll get there shortly.
And I apologize for anyone else who had like been sitting in on dining committee's meetings. I did not include your name here. My apologies. The slideshow was thrown together yesterday. I've been fairly busy, but I hope you guys can understand. I just want to start off by talking a little bit about our mission statement. So our mission is to collaborate with resources on campus to address food insecurity and improve the student experience. We know that students on our campus experience hunger and housing insecurity likely at higher rates compared to other universities, especially considering our minority populations and the high population of first generation college students and students who receive Pell Grants. Anna, I'm sorry. Did you want to add something? I'm getting a request
My
to annotate it.
apologies. No, ignore
Oh,
that.
no
It was a
worries.
mistake.
So I'll let the rest of the committee members talk a little bit about what we did this year.
Lauren, would you start off?
I'll start off since I guess no one is. We passed the resolution. So that's one of the biggest things we've done that I'm really proud about. And yeah.
We've also done a lot of work. This is actually before my time, so I'm speaking a little bit out of turn. But I know the committee did a lot of really awesome work with the Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week in conjunction with GDS.
What the ID music you listen to says a bunch of personality. Okay, so Nancy Ajram, you overhyped everything, you whitewashed your own culture, and the only reason you memorized lyrics is
Karima, I believe your mic is on.
Your mic is on.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No worries.
I hope I don't overhype everything, for the record. So this was a part of a event that we actually worked with, in which we made sandwiches that were given out to the homeless population and to the food pantry.
So like Lauren alluded to earlier, one of the big achievements for this year, besides working with the Hunger Free Task Force, was to pass the Hunger and Homelessness Resolution. And we just want to reiterate our steps moving forwards. So if we could just read off these in turn. So number one, request Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, to develop an action plan to eliminate student hunger by 2027. If Quay, then Will,
Yeah.
then Lauren, you guys want to pick up?
Number 2, request Rutgers University to develop an action plan to eliminate student housing insecurity.
Number 3, calls for a university-wide task force to address student food and housing insecurity.
Number 4, request President Barchi to formally address food insecurity for Rutgers students by enhancing the affirmative action plans and task force. Aforementioned action plan.
You're okay. Number 5, supports Rutgers University Newark's efforts to investigate food insecurity at the Rutgers Newark campus.
Number 6, calls upon Rutgers University to conduct an investigation into food insecurity at the Rutgers Camden campus.
Number 7, supports the formation of the Hunger-Free Task Force at Rutgers Newark, an interdepartmental collaboration between faculty, staff, and students.
Number 8, supports the efforts of Rutgers New Brunswick, Rutgers Newark, and Rutgers Camden in applying to the Hunger-Free Campus Act.
Number 9, recognizes the services provided by all Rutgers Newark departments and outside services, including but not limited to the care team, housing residence life, financial aid, health services, and gourmet dining.
Number 10, recognizes the newly formed JBJ Soul Kitchen and its mission in providing dining with dignity to students and community members.
So just again, this is just a bullet point of our accomplishments. Like the Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week in November, we collaborated with a record amount of student organizations on campus, engaging with over 300 students over the course of a week of events. And we just want to reiterate the plan to end hunger and homelessness on the Rutgers Newark campus by 2027. Yeah, if the rest of the committee members want to talk a little bit more about the work to be done moving forwards.
Yeah, so moving forward, we want more than 50% of students to be we want to make sure that food and housing insecurity is being resolved. We also students receiving financial aid are at greater risk. That's something we also want to work on. If anyone going, minority students are at greater risk of experiencing food insecurities. That's also one thing that we're mainly focusing on. Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week for November 2020. Anti-SNAP enrollment and education. We also want to work on the Hunger and Homelessness Task Force, the university-wide task force, and mitigate the effects of coronavirus. And hopefully, we want to be able to resolve all these issues by the year 2027.
2027 is the key year, y'all.
The one thing that I'm going to add onto this slide very briefly before we move forward is a section under mitigating the effects of the coronavirus. I just want to spend a moment and put a special emphasis on this because this pandemic has really shown us how lacking our infrastructure is in helping food insecure students. We want to be able to expand our efforts to help out the community a little bit more, as the burden for trying to help food insecure students has shifted away from campus and back into the community.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just to talk about what Will's points, obviously we're moving into a very different semester for the upcoming fall 2020 academic year. And while I've been in touch with the pantry run, like they have seen decreased visits, but that doesn't mean that the food insecurity has gone away on our Rutgers campus. It just means it's displaced back to wherever people and our students are living right now. So I think that the committee should continue its work moving forward into the next academic year, because these are problems that continue to pose a barrier for students and continue to hinder their education and well-being. So thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to the work of the Senate next year and the work of the dining committee next year.
Thank you, guys.
And again, a special thanks to all the committee members and everyone who was supporting the efforts of the dining committee this year. We really appreciate your support and couldn't have done it without you. So thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much. Really, yeah. Anyone who wants to go next can.
Okay, so I'm gonna go next then. So okay, so this is the transition committee, and I'm the chairperson for this committee. If others want to introduce themselves.
Hey, it's been a while. Harrison Chu, I'm also a member of the transition committee.
Hey everyone, Ricky Castaneda, also a member of the transition committee.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah and I'm also part of the committee.
Okay. So, I don't know if others have issues, but yeah. Tony Z also recently joined the transition committee, and Yvette, if you're there. But yeah, let's move on. So, our mission statement. Our mission statement is to facilitate a smooth transition process for incoming senators of the Student Government Association, and that has been our main goal from the very beginning. Before we started, the idea, we were having issues with how senators were being transitioned into the SGA. That's why the transition committee was established, and um, it was established this semester, um, and we worked towards ensuring that new elected candidates for the SGA would be able to smoothly transition into the Student Government Association, because it's very important that they know their roles and responsibilities. If anyone else wants to talk more about it. Yeah. So things we worked on for this semester. We've we've emphasized this a lot. The legacy questions. I know some of us haven't been able to answer the questions, but please, it's very important. Imagine if you were in the same situation. I understand that not all of us had the opportunity to know about the SDA, didn't have prior experience to being in the SDA, but it's very important that elected senators and candidates, elected officers for the SGA know about how they could work towards accomplishing their tasks and their responsibilities in the SGA. If anyone else wants to talk about the bylaw and the dialogue.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So, like, we're probably going to table the passage of the bylaw until next semester. But basically, we're hoping to make the transition committee into one of the standing committees, seeing the need for a smooth transition for all senators, and how that's a vital aspect of a functioning student government. So we've met with Dean Williams, and we've been talking over the language, but it likely include aspects such as formalizing the briefing and debriefing process, and like formalizing the legacy questions and other items like that.
Yeah, so basically, to reiterate what Harrison was just saying, we want to make sure that the transition committee is standing. Also, we be following up on the transition experience for the senators that were elected for the next academic year, and um receive feedback from them. So for the next incoming senators, they would we would have a more smoother transition process. Um, we also, one of the main things that we want to work on is the Senate starter pack. I know that Yvette and other people in the transition committee also made comments about the starter pack, and that's what we want to work on to ensure that they senators really understand what the starter pack is all about and how they could use it for their benefit, how they can use it to benefit themselves as officers in the Student Government Association. And our last point is passing the bylaw that we drafted this semester. Due to current circumstances and how things were moving really fast, we decided that we're gonna do it. We're gonna pass the bylaw next semester. But to just give you a brief summary about what's in the bylaw, it's basically what we basically want to ensure that the transition committee is sustainable and is very effective in its roles. So having a good foundation and ensuring that the Student Government Association is being run smoothly and has responsible senators. If anyone else wants to talk more, but besides that, that's about it. So, thank you all for and your effort, especially members of the transition committee. This committee wouldn't be successful without your help, and I truly appreciate your time and your dedication and your consideration to work on the goals and agenda of the transition committee. So that's about it.
All right, thank you a lot, Quay. Everyone, Sabrina just put something in the chat. Just look through that when you can. Maybe copy the information and save it. Pretty important. Whoever's next, whoever wants to go next, go right ahead.
Hi. So yeah, I'll go with our committee, Sexual Assault and Prevention Committee. Hello, guys. So I'll be presenting today because Sarah has a sore throat. So in this committee, Sarah is the chair of the committee. Myself, then Mariah, Yvette, and then we have our other student participants as well. Angelica, Jubilee, Sol, Jen, and Naomi. So I'm going to continue on. So the purpose of this committee is to increase awareness of the various resources on campus, to empower the students to take action in the case of interpersonal violence and incidents, to reshape the culture surrounding sexual harassment and assault. Why is this committee important? This committee is important because it helps establish the Student Governing Association as an entity that is working on combating sexual assault and harassment and the culture surrounding it. So far, what we have done this semester is we had a workshop on campus sexual assault by the Essex County Prosecutor's Office. It was a collaboration with Title IX and the Essex County Prosecutor's Office. It was a proactive approach that provides a 2-hour information session to provide students, faculty, and staff with information that would lead to prevention. And then we built strong ties with BPVA and Title IX. We worked on the Not Anymore training, and we tried to make it more efficient, as a lot of students don't know that this is needed to graduate. Like, you have to do this training in order to graduate. But as we did more research about it, we found out that not a lot of people do this, and yet they still graduate. And a lot of people did not even get this training during their SOAR, or like during their in their Blackboard or anything, nothing like that. So yeah, so we provided student feedback on initiatives like reshaping Title IX reference cards and the Not Anymore training to be done at SOAR. Um, we also had plans, but due to COVID-19, they were all shelved. So what we were working on was Title IX reference card. We were making it more user friendly and making it more comprehensive, more of a brochure. We were planning on doing video testimonials. We were also planning to have an organization that's just for sexual assault prevention. And Harrison has something to say, so I think we'll go back to that point. So, Harrison, do you want to say something? Then I'll finish it.
Yeah, I'm terribly sorry for interrupting your presentation. I just want to add, like, I volunteered with VPVA in the past. I've completed the bystander training over the summers. I just want to emphasize, like, another reason why it's really important to mandate this training is because it helps reduce the likelihood of assault, harassment, or any kind of interpersonal violence. Like, the public health model essentially goes from a primary, secondary, and tertiary model of prevention. And by educating others, we're basically, thank you, Dean Williams. By educating others, we're basically helping prevent this kind of violence from happening in the first place. So that's why it's really important as a community that we all complete this training and that we advocate for these issues. So thank you to the committee, and thank you for HEMA for letting me add that in.
No problem, Harrison. Thank you for your input. It was really nice. So I'm gonna end the presentation by a quote. We need to listen to survivors when they gather the unspeakable amount of courage it takes to speak up and say "me too." We need to fight for the people who can't fight for themselves. Sometimes something has to be done to make a change. And yeah, we'll be ending our presentation right here. Thank you, guys.
Hi guys, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Let me see
Yes.
how I can do this. Okay. Can you guys see it? So hopefully y'all can hear me, but so my name is Yvette Gonzalez. Obviously, I'm a criminal justice senator, and basically, I'll be presenting on the Public Safety and Campus Security Committee. So this committee arose after the incident that had happened on our campus at the law school last semester, and essentially, we thought, since after the open discussion with our chancellor, students had concerns and questions as to how we can ensure the safety and security of our students on campus and what should be done. And essentially, this committee arose from that. And members on our committee are myself, Mariah Kinney, Sarah, and Ricky. So the mission statement for this committee is our goal is to work in partnership with Rutgers Police, public safety students, faculty, and staff to provide a safe, enjoyable, and fulfilling university experience. So this committee essentially, due to COVID-19 and not being on campus, obviously it took a hit on us. So what the committee essentially was set to do for this semester was, one, to ensure students, faculty, and staff to feel safe and secure within the campus and the borders of campus. Two is to be basically the direct line of communication between Rutgers affiliates and Rutgers Police and Rutgers Public Safety. And three, provide information and action plans to students, faculty, and staff on what to do in case of an emergency and situations that students, faculty, and staff may face. So the committee's outlook for next semester, I feel like will basically be a good way to start off, essentially, since it will be a new school year and this committee can build its foundations. So essentially, to build its foundations, this committee can essentially get a direct partnership or liaison between both parties, working. They could be a student liaison and a police officer, which would be one of the lieutenants. Also partner with police department to table and co-sponsor each other in events, as well as pass information on emergency action plans, dispatches number, public safety number for escorts and questions to students, faculty, and staff. And essentially, by passing out information, there could be information sessions or even tabling. And also, an idea that I thought about would be essentially implementing a public and police section to SOAR. Just even having a police officer or a public safety lieutenant come in and speak to on behalf of the department and ensuring that students are feel safe on campus, and knowing that they do have people patrolling and they do have CSOs patrolling, incoming freshmen can feel safe and actually know where to go. Because I remember that, I didn't even know that we had a public safety office right below deck one. And also ensuring that there is a line of communication for suggestions and concerns from students, faculty, and staff. Essentially, since we obviously saw that students and faculty had issues at Bradley Hall, and that message as a CSO, we didn't even hear about that. So just having some way of an open line of communication between students and staff that could immediately get checked up on will be ensuring the safety and security of our campus. And essentially, these are important information that I will leave up. And it's basically the emergency action plans as to what to do when an emergency like a potential shooting of a school can happen, a potential crisis or anything, which is that link that's under emergency action plans, and as well Rutgers dispatch number and where our police department headquarters and public safety headquarters are located at. But if anything in any emergency, just dial 911 and someone will be there to help you. And basically, this committee will, I feel like, get its grounds going next year, essentially once we get feedback from freshmen and incoming students as to how we may potentially grow as a department and ensuring basically the safety and concerns of our students and staff. Mm. Mm. And to get on the point that Dean Williams made, yeah. So I definitely feel like a campus video would definitely do us a lot of propaganda and ensure that students can obviously see that our campus is safe and secure.
Hi everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. So I'm going to present on behalf of the Health and Wellness Committee. If anyone else would like to talk with me, of course feel free to join. I know Maggie, Carlos, Karima, but I will share my screen. Hopefully I know this works. Okay, there we go. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, this is the Health and Wellness Committee. Me, myself, Carlos, Maggie, and Karima are all members of this committee. So our purpose for forming this committee last semester was to increase awareness of the health resources we have on campus, such as the pharmacy department, the health and wellness center, the counseling center. All of these resources, unfortunately, aren't really used by students as much as they should be because, health is a very important aspect of our well-being as a student. And so last semester, our main focus was the pharmacy department because not many students were actually aware of like that we have a pharmacy on campus, and actually they closed the pharmacy in New Brunswick for records because students weren't actually going there and they were losing a lot of money because of it. So last semester and this semester as well, our main focus was to just increase awareness about that we have a pharmacy on campus and to let students know that they sell medications and just like various products at discounted prices. And they also accept health insurances if you have one. And it's also accessible for everyone, those who commute and those who dorm. And regarding health services, we have the Health and Wellness Center. They offer physical checkups. There's a counseling center where they offer mental health and just like emotion, whether it's emotional or like anxiety or stress. They just offer mental health resources to hopefully better the well-being of the students. And of course, we also have the 24-hour nurse line in case students are ever in need of help when the centers are not open. Also, this semester, I was able to serve on the planning committee for the De-Stress Fest. Unfortunately, since after everything happened with COVID-19, we were forced to go online. So, but originally we planned to have the Boardwalk De-Stress Fest, and we had a lot of fun activities planned, but now they were all online this previous week, and we had like virtual yoga sessions, self massages, teach you how to self massage yourself. They had like a dancing lesson and a lot of other fun stuff. And so before everything happened, like at the beginning of March, I met with Dr. Anise Thomas and we talked about our plans for the semester moving forward. But unfortunately, they were all canceled due to COVID-19. But hopefully, whoever is on this committee next semester can continue with this. But we wanted to have a health fair so students are more aware of the resources we have. I know they offer that during student orientation where they take students and they show them around, but that day it's like everything is like pushed into their faces, so they probably forget about it. So we wanted to have like a special health fair just dedicated to the Health and Wellness Center to talk about, what they do, the services they offer, and everything, possibly on like Samuel's Plaza. So it's like more, so students can like engage more. And we also are planning on having an info session with the counseling center so they could talk about more of their resources and also hopefully get students more engaged with them in case they are in need of utilizing those services. Something else I wanted to work on was a clothing drive to collect clothes for students in need in order to promote their well-being. I know a lot of students, unfortunately, they're unable to buy their own clothes because of like financial difficulties, and I think it's unfair for them to be going through that, of course. So one way to help them out is to have a clothing drive and collect clothing, of course, like new or like lightly worn clothing, and help them out during their difficult times. And then also purchase a small cabinet for personal hygiene products that we could possibly leave in the PRCC or in the SGA room, where students can come and get like necessary personal hygiene needed. And also something else I had in mind was to hopefully have like free disposers for feminine products. Like I know in a lot of bathrooms they have them, but it's like you have to pay 50 cents and like none of them really work. So hopefully we can try to make sure that, you know, they actually work and we can make them for free as well, because, you know, everyone's in need of that. Well, obviously females, but I think it's important. Yeah.
I'm sorry, could you
Does
repeat
anyone
that
else
last
want
point, Carolyn?
about what?
I just
The
heard something
feminine
that was not
dispensers?
working.
Oh, the feminine, the pad dispensers in the bathrooms, like they never work. And it's like you have to pay 50 cents and then like nothing comes out. So that's definitely something that we need to make sure works and hopefully make it for free.
Definitely, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
If anyone, yeah, of course, if anyone has any questions or wants to add anything, feel free.
So on that last point, real quick, I just wanted to add something. We've been speaking about that with Vice Chancellor Thomas, and she
Yeah.
actually said that she had people regularly checking on the dispensers to make sure that they are actually filled and like working everywhere
Okay.
that they are. So I don't know if that I don't know if anybody has like had experience with it, but she did tell us that that issue was like solved. I do agree though
Oh, okay,
on the point
perfect.
of moving forward with making them free and more
Yeah.
accessible to students. And I'm not sure if that was
I know, like when I met with Dr. Anise Thomas, she was like, "We're definitely working on something like that because, you know, like a lot of students don't really have coins on them, or just like they're not able to afford, you know, buying one from the bathrooms. And since they're on campus, I think they should be for free."
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I believe I'm the last committee to be presenting today, but I'm struggling a little with sharing my slides. I believe you all received them, so if you wouldn't mind, I'm just gonna like go ahead and present because I'm struggling a little with sharing my screen. If that's okay with all of you.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So, what did you say?
She said, can you repeat that? She was just saying if you can open up the slides on your own computers or whatever it might be, so that because she's having trouble sharing her screen. Can someone
Okay, thank
send
you.
like the link in the chat by any chance? I'm on my phone, so I don't know. If I'm
Yeah,
gonna be able
same. I actually sprained my ankle, so I cannot get to my computer.
to- Yeah,
It was
mine
it was a
also difficult
PowerPoint
to open
file.
this to my computer.
Yeah, it
A
was
Oh,
sent
PowerPoint
out.
file
okay.
by
I could
email.
probably.
You should
Okay,
still be
yeah.
able to
Then
open
I'll
it.
just figure it out.
I think I should be able to share it. I'm downloading it as a file right now, so I can pull that up.
Thank you.
Perfect, thanks.
So if you want me to, I can just go ahead until the PowerPoint comes up so that we don't be wasting any time. Unless you want to wait for it.
That's up to you. Whatever you
I
want
mean,
to do.
I'm just gonna
Just
go
a
ahead.
moment.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. It's okay. It happens. I mean,
Yeah, I hope you feel better. Have you been
yeah.
able to get any medical care?
I actually called my physician. He said that if I can like put a little bit of weight on it, it's not that bad, but he insisted on me resting it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be fine.
Okay.
It's not the first time. So I used to play basketball and this used to happen all the time. So
Okay.
it's just an inconvenience. So thank you. So the Environmental Awareness Committee, it's currently confirmed by me. I'm the chair. and Anna. Anna very kindly joined the committee as soon as she joined the SGA in the beginning of the semester. The mission statement is not in here. I'm sorry, I apologize, but I have it right here in my notes. More than anything, the environmental committee was created in light of the water crisis that we were facing last semester, and we realized that this was like a very like a topic on its own, separated from the health committee. So we decided to go ahead and create the environmental awareness committee. The mission of this committee was is still to advocate for the increase of practice of environmental education, to promote the development and use of effective research-based environmental education pedagogy, to support values of diversity and environmental education, to be able to highlight the emerging trends in environmental education and stewardship. So, in other words, we wanted, as the future generation, that we are in charge. I always say that generations face different problems. I firmly believe that our generation's biggest issue is climate change. And the purpose of this committee was more than anything to create that awareness in every single of the students, because I believe this to be a very present issue, because without a planet, without somewhere for us to live, we will not be able. I believe that the situation that we are currently in, it's greatly proof of that. The fact that we were not ready, the fact that sometimes we get so caught up in our routines that we forget what really matters. So I hope I'm not only speaking for myself, but for everyone here, that family, that health, that all the things come first, and money and all the things that sometimes we just put as a priority. So the mission, like I already said, of this committee was for us to being able to educate ourselves and the rest of the student body in environmental education, for us to be aware, for us to know the things that we have and don't have to do. So the biggest event that we had this semester was the task force, which was kind of like a very huge deal. We were very excited about it. We were able to speak with people from New Brunswick. Emily Chang, I believe that Harrison and Rick, they met her last semester in the March that we had. She was involved in this as well, but the main person with whom we were able to establish a connection and actually express our concerns was Angela Oberg. She was the person that contacted us. Me and Anna, we were very happy to help in the event. Some of you saw us at the door. We were just trying to help in a way. This task force was initiated by the president, and the purpose of the climate action plan was to identify ambitious but feasible pathways to achieving the goals of university carbon neutrality and enhance climate resilience, as well as the goal of catalyzing equitable climate positive economic development throughout the state. So the purpose of this was for us also to be able to establish a connection, for us to bring Rutgers, New Brunswick, Rutgers Camden, and Rutgers Newark as a whole, because we believe that Rutgers is New Jersey, and if we were able to consolidate this power, to consolidate this unity, unite all three campuses, we were going to be able to achieve even bigger goals, you know. So this was the biggest event that we had. The topics discussed at the event was energy and buildings, transportation, general supply chain and waste management, food systems, land use and offsets, climate preparedness, climate positive economic development. So at the event, there were many concerns expressed. One of the things that we were able to talk about with Ms. Oberg was that we were noticing that in the bathroom sometimes the toilets were not checked, like the maintenance people were not checking them. So when you went and you used the bathroom or something like that, the water would just run away. Even if whatever you did was gone already, the water just kept going and going and going, and then there were nowhere for you to call. We had no numbers in the bathrooms for someone to come and address the situation and the problem. There were also other concerns like the doors opening, and then the AC or the heat was just going away. So those were some of the concerns that were expressed in the event. Um, we wanted to initiate this water awareness campaign because of an incident that happened in one of the bathrooms in one of the toilets in Smith Hall. Um, so the water awareness campaign was for us to be able to talk about the usage of more efficient appliances for the bathrooms, turning on and on the faucets when they're being cleaned, because some of the ladies that were doing the cleaning in the bathrooms, they were not being mindful of the water they were using. So this was expressed to us by another student that was taking a class there from 6 to 9. The name of the student is Emily. She wrote an email to us, and then she expressed her concerns about the ladies not being mindful of the water they were using. Also, the purpose of this campaign that we would have started in March was for us to like create signs of we as students also being mindful of the water we were using when we're washing our hands, or because sometimes I personally used to notice that students were in the middle of a break or something and they were just washing their hands, and even they were leaving the faucet like on and the water just running, and it was just something very painful to watch. um so that was one of the campaigns that we had talked about. We also wanted to do like a workshop because we know that we can get very creative when we want to be, and we wanted to create like a workshop or teach other people and how to create paper. So everything we use, from clothing to personal hygiene products, plays a toll on our global forest. So deforestation accounts for an estimated 15% of total of greenhouse emissions. So even though this is not one of the main concerns, as we were told in the event, we did wanted to like address this problem also because we were noticing like the waste of paper at the Dana library. So you can just go and print out a document, but no one is there for you to know, for you to be careful of the paper you're using. Also, we wanted to see if with this workshop we could talk with professors and try to see, because we know that some of them they don't allow us to print out the documents. Sometimes we do have very big projects or papers to write, and the professors they ask you, in fact, sometimes they command you to don't print but the document on both sides of the paper. So we were thinking about maybe bringing this up, but again, we were not able to do this for the current situation we're in. So we wanted to talk to professors and see if there was a possibility, because sometimes we even have to write drafts and they don't even allow us to like print on both sides, regardless if it's a draft or not. So that was another thing that we had planned on. I don't know if Anna wants to say anything, but that's so far what I can tell you guys about this. I really hope the person that comes on continues with this committee. I know that for many of you that this might not be like a very important issue, but at least it is to me. And as I always say, you must follow what is most passionate for you to do. So thank you guys. Sorry, my bow is a little like out of it, but my throat's been a little sore also, but I hope you were able to understand everything and to listen. So thank you.
I'd like to add something very little to what Valerie said um, about her conclusion. I also want to express what I have witnessed on campus, recognizing the leadership, especially in activism, that has risen on our campuses. We are having young people who are leading movements and are having conversations on campus in order to engage all students and faculty in conversations that is affecting the world. So I believe that this committee is one way that the student government can, lead the conversation as we push forward our campus in a shift to progress the world as well. So I really hope that this committee will not be abandoned after we leave, because of the importance of leading the activism work on our campus. That's all I have to say.
Hi, everyone. It's Dean Williams. I just want to say you all are doing a really great job on all of your presentations. I know there's only a few moments left, but Vice Chancellor Thomas is now in the room. So, and I know this is the last meeting you all have for the semester. So, let's hope we can just have a moment briefly to share some remarks. So, Vice Chancellor Thomas.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for welcoming me into your final meeting of the semester. I don't have a huge agenda, but I did want to say, first and foremost, hello, and see how everyone was doing. I wanted most of all to say congratulations to all of you for an excellent, excellent meeting with Chancellor Cantor and myself and various other members of the university's executive team. I guess it was just last week. You did an amazing job. It was wonderful to be able to hear the kinds of concerns and interests that you all have and ambitions that you have for the semester that's coming up, for the year that's coming up. But it was also, to be honest with you, really refreshing to be able to share some more personal notes and to hear more about who you all are as people, outside of your ambitions for the student government. And so thank you very much for such a well done meeting. The chancellor remarked afterwards that she was really looking forward to next year because of the amazing job that you all did. So kudos and job well done. I really just wanted to say to you all that while you are, I don't know how many of you are taking summer classes, but we will be spending the summer, aside from taking some vacation, which I hope all of you will take some opportunity to do as well. We will be spending the summer planning for the fall. We really don't know at this moment what the fall is going to look like, whether it's going to be remote, whether it's going to be hybrid, whether it's going to be in person completely. But I will say to you that we will be doing our absolute best to make sure that it's a semester that is worthy of your participation and your attendance, because we do value you as Rutgers Newark students. Chancellor Cantor has started a team of us to get together on a weekly basis to really just talk through all aspects of returning to school, academic aspects, research aspects, operations aspects, and quite frankly, a group of us will be focusing particularly on building community, because we really don't want to lose the essence of what it means to be Rutgers Newark students and the kind of community that you've built over time. So more on that as we move along. We will certainly reach out to the SGA as we get closer to making some decisions, and for your input as we move along. I know how to find you, absolutely, and you know how to find me. So that's pretty much it. If there are any questions that you have for me, I want to wish you all an incredible finals period. I hope you've been participating in De-Stress Fest. I did meditation this morning, which was a part of De-Stress Fest, which maybe that's a silver lining. I didn't get a chance to, I don't usually get a chance because of the timing to participate in De-Stress Fest. So thank you, COVID-19 lockdown, I guess, for giving me that opportunity. I know this has been a really tough 6 weeks. It's been for all of us. And I know that it's been especially hard on you as students. And so I want to say thank you for hanging in there with us. And we look forward to all that's to come. Are there any questions that I can answer for you before I give you back your meeting and let you kind of go to it? Questions? Anyone?
Well, I guess there are no questions, but I just want to thank you, Dr. Thomas, for taking all the time you do, because you're so committed, and our administration is so committed for our students, working day and night, really like 24/7 around the clock job. And you're doing that all for us. So we all really appreciate that so much.
Okay, well, it's our pleasure, and hopefully I will run into some of you over this summer. If you're taking classes, certainly we may interact in some way, whether it's remote or not. We'll be in touch. Good luck with finals, and thank you all for just being the most amazing students ever. Okay? Take good care. Bye.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor.
Bye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you not want to hear about the SOS committee real quick? Okay. I mean, if does anyone want a motion to move past to the bylaw votes? I don't mind.
So TLDR,
So I
too long
kind of
didn't
need
read.
someone to motion.
Yeah, the SIS committee reformatted stuff, and we're working with student orgs to try and figure out what will happen next semester, but a lot of stuff is still in the air. And I'll make the motion to move past the presentation for SIS committee.
All right, can someone second that, and then we'll count the vote?
Second.
Najir, are you there?
Yeah, just give me a second to get the name.
Okay, she's just setting up the count, the table.
Okay, and this is for moving past the last committee, right?
Yeah, we're good to move forward to the bylaw changes on the agenda.
Okay, we gotta do voting, right? So I'm just gonna call the name.
Real quick before we vote, I think we're recording this and students do have the right to know kind of what the SOS committee is working on. I don't think it's fair that all the other committees presented, and then we won't have recorded what the SOS committee is doing. So I mean, you guys, obviously it's up to you guys in the end, but I just think that we should have every committee present.
Yeah, I agree with Sabrina.
I don't have an issue with that at all. I just didn't know that if everyone's down with the second to just move to the voting, there's no problem with that either. But I also don't have an issue, just for everyone to know, I don't have an issue presenting with the SOS committee. It's really brief, but we really don't have a lot of time. So that's the only thing. We also, as you are all aware, we can also always motion to extend the meeting time. There's nothing that's preventing us from extending the time as well. As long as we have enough people to meet quorum, we can extend the time. So I do want to let everyone know. But because there is a second in motion, I think we have to let the votes go and see what everyone thinks. So that's my last comment. So roll call.
Okay. So this is voting to move past the SOS committee presentation. So Lauren,
Nay.
Carlos, Yvette,
Yes.
Melanie,
Did you say Melanie?
yeah,
Nay.
Maggie,
Yeah, yes.
Vicky,
My bad, I couldn't hear you. I'm abstaining.
Hima, is Hima there?
Oh, my bad. Sorry, my mic was off. Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Karima,
Yes.
Lenore,
Yes.
Harrison,
I'm abstaining.
Will,
Yes.
Charles, Anna,
Yes.
Abbas,
I abstain.
Kevin,
Yes.
Akwe.
Abstain.
Sorry, what was that? Yes or no?
I'm abstaining.
Oh, abstaining. Okay. Tananze, Eugene, Tanze,
She's probably in the process of typing in chat at the moment.
all right.
Or maybe not.
Okay, I'm just gonna. So we're gonna move past the presentation.
Wait, Najira, real quick, can you announce how many nays, how many yeses, and how many abstentions were there?
There's 11 yes, 4 abstaining, and then 2 no's, and then and Tananze. Oh, she said yeah, so there's 1 more yes.
All right, so I guess we're gonna move along.
Yes, please.
So Harrison, if you
put
would
the
like,
docs in the chat.
yeah, yes, I can do that right now, and I'll also screen share. So the Constitutional Committee has 3 bills. I know only 2 are sent, but we're just going to start off with this one. A bill to update the names and titles in the association bylaws. So I just put the link in the chat there. I'm sorry, it's fairly a bore, but there are 17 instances where the Dean of Student Life needs to be corrected to the Dean of Students. There are 38 instances where the Office of Student Life needs to be corrected to the Office of Student Life and Leadership. And there are 3 cases where the Newark College of Arts and Sciences needs to be corrected to the School of Arts and Sciences, Newark. This bill is an amendment to the bylaws. It was shared in the email. Feel free to read over it. And if there is no need for discussion, well, hopefully there is no need for discussion. I will vote on this bill. Can I get a second?
Second.
Sorry, who motioned?
So I don't know who seconded, but I motioned to vote on the bill. Yeah. Maggie seconded as well as Yvette.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, so I'm just gonna start with the roll call. Okay. Lauren,
Yes, sorry.
Carlos, is for Yvette,
Yes.
Mariah, Melanie,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Ema,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Carolyn, Karima,
Yes.
Lenore,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Abbas,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Akwe,
Yes.
and Tunantzit.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, so that's everyone.
Okay. Okay.
If I may, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to extend our time to allow for proper voting and discussion of the bills. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Extend by how long?
The rules don't necessarily
Maybe
specify.
20 minutes?
Specify how long?
But you have to specify, like, it can't just be indefinite. You have to choose a time.
So Robert's rules don't say that I have to specify, but we'll meet in the middle and we'll say that we'll make it an additional half hour.
Okay, and if we have quorum, we can continue.
All right, so we're voting on extending meeting. So Lauren,
Yes.
Carlos, Yvette, Melanie.
Abstaining.
Sorry, was that a yes or no?
Abstaining.
Abstaining.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Maggie,
Yes.
Ricky,
Yes.
Ema,
Sorry, yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Is that me?
yeah, Carolyn.
Oh, yes.
Karima,
No.
Manar,
No.
Harrison,
Yes.
Lil,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Abbas,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Akwe,
Yes.
and Tunantzit.
Yes.
So the meeting is extended for 30 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I hope you will all bear with me for the second one that I'm presenting. Again, this is the thank you all for sharing that document. This is a bill to clarify language in the association bylaws. And this is the Constitution. The 2015 one transcribed. It's also highlighted everywhere where we are proposing changes. So feel free to reference that. Let me just check the sharing permissions on that briefly. My apologies. So anyone with the link should be able to view it now. But this bill to clarify language in the association bylaws, the first change is to remove conflicting language because there is a provision for if someone is on academic or disciplinary probation already in bylaw 103, article 2, section 1. The second clarification is to specify that the Speaker of the Senate must be a senator nominated by any other senator, including themselves. The third change is to change the phrase veto an illegal allocation to veto an unauthorized allocation for the reasons that the Student Governing Association should not be committing any illegal purchases to begin with. And this provides an example to help with interpretation. And finally, the proposed change is to change the language in bylaw 600, Article 6, Section 1, from divided equally among 10 senator teams to divided among 10 among the senators. My apologies. So let me retype that.
I would also just like to take a moment while he's retyping that to remind everyone that everything within this bill is just a clarification of the language. All of the original mechanisms are still in place. We're not changing the way that anything functions. We're just going back and reclarifying language that was unnecessarily vague or ambiguous.
And this would go into effect immediately. I believe everyone should be able to see the Constitution. I'm sorry, it has every instance of the 50-some like name changes from the prior bill. Are there any questions about this clarification of language?
I second Maggie's motion to vote.
Is that for the bylaw 202, Article 2?
Was what for bylaw 202 Article 2, sorry?
For the clarification of that, it was the same as we discussed yesterday, right? Just like saying that anyone can nominate themselves.
Yes, this is all. All of these were discussed yesterday. That is correct.
Okay, perfect.
Harrison, if you don't mind, I just have a quick question I want to clarify.
Yeah, of course.
So you stated that this is strictly about like the language of the Constitution, correct? Because I do see a lot of sections on university, Senate, and other areas. So I just want to clarify.
Yeah, so I've highlighted that. That's skipping a little bit ahead. That is not in relation to this bill.
Okay.
This is just for bylaw 103, bylaw Article 1, Section 3, bylaw 202, Article 2, Section 1, bylaw 201, Article 5, Section 3, and bylaw 600, Article 6, Section 1. These are the 4 clarifications within this bill only.
Okay.
If there are no further questions, can we get a motion to vote?
Motion to vote. Us again.
Yeah, I second.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, also, Sabrina said something in the chat. Harrison.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as familiar with Robert's rules, but I believe since like the motion has been seconded, we do need to tally the votes now as well. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I remember last a couple meetings ago, I was cut off during the seconded.
Harrison, sorry to cut you up for a sec. Dean Williams, can we have advisement? There's a motion to vote. There's been seconded. Should we continue discussing, or should we just move to a roll call vote?
So if there's a motion already on the table to vote and it's been seconded, then that would permit you all to continue with your vote.
Thank you, Dean Williams. No further comment.
All right, so we're just gonna move along with the voting.
Yep.
All right, Lauren,
Yes.
Carlos,
Yes.
Yvette,
Yes.
Mariah, Melanie,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Ema,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yeah.
Rima,
Yes.
Lenar,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Will, Ms. Will?
Did you say Will again?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Anna? Okay, Abbas?
Yes.
Evan?
Yes.
Ahmed?
Yes.
And Tananza?
Yes.
Okay, so just to make sure, Anna didn't vote. Is she there? Um, so the motion passes?
Okay, thank you. I don't know if Ricky, you would like to present the third bill?
Yeah, no problem. Let me just pull that up real quick. But Harrison, can I have you share that though on your screen? Just because I'm also having a little trouble doing that over here on my end. Excuse me. Okay. So, hello everyone. So this bill right here is basically everything that we discussed yesterday. If you were present, sorry, give me a second. All right, sorry about that. Everything here, the language that we discussed yesterday about changes to University Senate. If you were not there, basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to have the legislative branch recognize the University Senate as being part of the legislative branch, because what that would do is it would grant them the privileges, the perks, and the budget to um, allow them to function in the best way possible for those that are University Senate. Currently, the Senate allows 7.5% of the budget to be allocated to senators, but that does not include those that are in University Senate because the current language does not recognize university senators as part of the legislative branch. They are two separate things. But what we want to do is we want to improve the language to include them all together. And so that would be one of the proposed things that we have. Oh, sorry or something, but that's one of the proposed things that we have. There were some feedback that we got yesterday that we are going to address in this bill as well that we did not talk about yesterday. If we scroll quickly down to where is that part? I'm so sorry. Harrison, where is that part of the where we specify the timeline? Oh, gotcha. So all the way down in section 16, we took your feedback and we are implementing some of those feedbacks into the bill that we have. So not everything that we're proposing today, if the bylaw passes, will go in effect all immediately. There will be some that would go immediately, or actually, basically, the majority of the items that we're changing would go in effect immediately upon the passage of the bylaw. But there are some stuff that we do want to responsibly transition over through phase-ins to do this in a responsible and clear manner. So as described in this section, we're going to relax. One concern that was brought up was the issue of like people who are currently appointed for the 2020-2021 University Senate session, that some of them might not have an availability on Monday. I do want to address there is a part in the Constitution that already states that after every University Senate meeting that the University Senators have to come back with a report on the next following general body meeting. So they already have to have an availability on Mondays during free period, although it's not constantly, but at least they have to have some type of availability Mondays during free period. So that's already something that's already in the bylaws. It's not something that we've added. It's already in the Constitution. So we now just want to strictly start enforcing this part of the Constitution that's already in there. But we also understand that, and Dylan, thank you for being very proactive in and finding people to represent University Senate for this upcoming Senate year so that we can avoid any vacancies at the start of the new year. And so to accommodate for those that are not going to be able to meet the Monday meetings, temporarily for the upcoming 2020-2021 year, we are going to relax the attendance requirements for those that are also serving in University Senate during the 2020-2021 term. So this is going to be something temporary that we're going to do. This is not something that we're going to strictly enforce attendance towards those that are serving in University Senate that are not already in SGA, because we don't want to penalize or jeopardize their positions just because they can't make those Monday meetings. And we want to be understanding and ensure that we don't lose people to University Senate because of that time constraint. This would also give us 1 year to properly advertise and properly display the importance and of University Senate and always having that seat not vacant. So we want to use that year that we have to transition this rule to do just that. We want to basically ensure that that by spring 2021, that would be the first election we would hold, first open elections that we would hold for University Senate. That's also included in this proposed timeline as well, that we would properly enforce that the SGA with the consult of the university senators to provide action items on how we're going to go about this. So that's one thing that we're going to relax and something that would not take effect immediately. Another issue that we also came upon was the fact that some of the university senators already hold positions in the SGA this upcoming year. So we also, again, we don't want to jeopardize or remove people from having the ability to serve in the University Senate because they already hold a different position. In the proposed bylaws, it currently states that we're trying to propose. It currently states that we don't want to have that no person in the SGA should hold more than one position within the SGA. But we see that we already have, we're going to run to this issue next year because we already have at least 2 university senators who already hold a position in the SGA. So we're also going to be relaxing that bylaw for a year so that we can avoid any time because we shouldn't really have any time to have any vacancies for University Senate. University Senate is something very important. It starts as soon as the new year begins, and we want to ensure that we have most positions filled. And lastly, those would be the two, I guess, relaxed rules that would not go into effect until the new academic year of 2021-2022. Also, I believe there's a vacant position still for University Senate. So we also added in this bill that we're gonna try to hold elections. We're gonna hold elections for that vacant position. I believe it's RBS. RBS has 2 seats to University Senate, so we're gonna hold an election for RBS to fill that remaining seat, and that we must act in a very proactive sense because we shouldn't leave that seat much longer. I do want to show real quick for those that are, I'm kind of a visual learner myself, but what do you call it? I'm a visual learner myself, so I'm going to share with y'all, or actually if Harrison, if you have that document of the diagram, that would be great. So this is basically everything we discussed yesterday, but in a much more visual sense. So this is what the difference between a academic senator that currently holds a position and their roles and duties, and what the roles of a university senator would be if they joined the SGA. So as stated right here in this Venn diagram, a Rutgers University Newark academic senator is elected by the entire student body. I mean, yeah, they're elected by entire student body. The way that the elections committee has been practicing, that has been the case, and they represent their academic school constituents on a local level. So what do we mean by a local level? We mean internally. We mean having meetings with the deans, having meetings with addressing the concerns of that school specifically to the respective deans, as well. And that points out to point number 3, which is working on initiatives that are directed towards their academic school. So anything that an academic center will be working on, it's towards the goal of improving, the needs and concerns that their constituents are making in that academic school. Now, for a university senator, they are elected by the school of which they represent. So so for example, SASN reps would be elected by SASN students, and so on and so forth. RBS reps are going to be elected by RBS students. SPA students would be, the SPA center would be elected by SPA students. So that's the difference between the 2 positions, as well as they would have to go to university senate meetings, and that they do not, and this is just to be very clear, that they do not have the same responsibilities as academic senators. So that means they're not the ones handling the internal affairs of students at their respective schools. They're not obligated to go to meetings with the deans, although they should have meetings with the deans, but in regards to university senate, because deans also sit in university senate, so there is a caucus meeting between Rutgers Newark senators at large anyways. So that's something that we've been trying to do. I do want to address something that has just been said in the chat by the the chief of staff. Dean Williams, if I may ask a question. Does the chief of staff hold can the chief of staff isn't the chief of staff supposed to maintain partiality throughout the whole thing, and is not supposed to make any inputs towards any bills that are being discussed during deliberations?
So any member of the SGA, well, first, after you all have to have adequate time to discuss what's being presented. So considering that the meeting has been extended to 1:30, I think it's important to be mindful of the time, but it is permissible for any member of the association, executive board, and Senate to provide their feedback during a discussion. It's just a matter of making sure there's a motion for when that discussion is supposed to set and how much time you're supposed to allocate for the discussion prior to voting.
Copy that. All right. Well, all right. So I'll move on, and then we'll address the concerns that people may have in the chat. So the similarities between the 2 positions is that they both have to attend general meeting sessions. They both would have funds allocated to them, as I explained earlier, and they would both have voting privileges.
Ricky, if I may just go ahead and interrupt real quick.
Go ahead.
Because we are running out of time, I do want to go ahead and go through this list. In the past meeting, we had a good bit of feedback that came back to us. And so in the matter of time, just because we are running out of time, I've gone ahead and compiled all of those on a list. And I'm going to be giving the committee's official feedback to all of them. So I'm just going to begin with that now. So first, I want to start with the concern that university senators don't actually need funds. This is something that was later clarified to maybe not necessarily have been what they were intending to say, but I just want to go ahead and address it either way. Currently, university senators have to pay out of pocket for food, transit, and if they want to cooperate monetarily and contribute to any university senate initiatives, and no student should have to pay to represent Rutgers Newark. The next concern was that it would create too much work. It would be overwhelming for university senators. First, I would like to refer you to the chart that's on the screen currently about the Venn diagram and see that we are not actually requiring them to assist in any academic initiatives, and the only responsibility that's added onto them is Monday. Carrying through what Ricky had said earlier about bylaw 401 section 2 article 2 section 5, that requires all university senators attendance on the Monday following university senate. This means that in order to be able to serve as a university senator, they must already have Monday availability. So this is no new requirement for them, since they already have to be able to have that Monday availability. But because this is a new revelation, we've gone ahead and included the deferred enactment clause to facilitate this semester's university senators so that we don't have any conflict as of currently. Moving on to the next one about decreasing the pool for eligible people. Our response to this is that given the above response addressing the concerns about increasing responsibility and that we aren't doing so. There's no reason to believe that it decreases the pool. We actually aim to do the exact opposite of this by offering students a seat at the table. You sweeten the pot for them. In this case, we're offering them the ability to vote and receive funding for their initiatives. We've seen this in other systems where it's already been introduced by RUSA and RU Camden, where we've actually seen a positive correlation between this policy's enactment and student engagement and participation. The next concern was that next year is already full / University Senate will be a priority, so we don't actually need this. The response to this is that University Senate participation has been an issue long before us in this particular Senate, and will continue to be an issue long after this particular Senate. Keeping in mind that half of this committee is serving on the e-board for the 2020-2021 SGA, we have full confidence in the abilities and the willingness for the future SGA to accomplish these goals and fill these seats. But what we're looking for is institutional change that surpasses us and our efforts. The only way that we can guarantee the same results that we've seen this year is to continue doing this. The next concern being that it's too short of a time frame. It needs more collaboration. This is unethical. This is kind of like what was brought up in chat. This is going to be my most blatant response. And that's just, first I want to point out that any bill that's introduced, this one included, gets the same amount of time. They would be introduced and voted on in one session. In order to accommodate for these concerns, we've already given these issues 2 sessions. In addition to that, there's been some comments about it needs more collaboration, which I just want to point out that this has been a conversation for the entire year, both before we went online and after. And participation in this committee has been advertised continuously throughout the semester. And I know it was advertised before then, but I wasn't an SGA and I can't speak to that. At this point, if you want to be involved, if you want to be involved and you haven't been, it's because you made an active choice not to be. Moving forward, the next concern is that it's unethical to give voting power to students who weren't elected. There's definitely a lot of merit in this. But the thing I'd like to point out is that in theory, these students will be elected. Students may run for University Senate positions just like any others. Currently, they're mostly appointed due to lack of participation. This is something that this amendment aims to fix. Currently, other SGA vacancies with voting powers can also be appointed. Numerous of our current SGA members have been appointed this very way, myself included. And this is no different. And then university senators have voting power already, except their vote affects all campuses and not just ours. It makes sense that if they're representing Rutgers Newark, that they be able to vote for Rutgers Newark. Moving on to the next one, we should just give them a budget instead. The answer to this is that this only solves a small piece of the problem. The amendment serves to promote participation, increase representation of our student body, and guarantee resources. But further, this doesn't actually guarantee resources, i.e. the budget is an allocated amount and it's an arbitrary amount, and it changes from year to year. And then third, constitutionally defining a specific budget outside of the established percentage sets a dangerous precedent for less necessary changes in the future. Moving on to the next concern. I'm sorry, guys, I'm trying to get through this as fast as possible, but there was a lot of feedback. Just increase awareness instead. Our response to this is this doesn't solve any of the issues the amendment aims to fix. No resources for transportation, food, or collaboration. Theoretically, this might improve participation, but keeping in mind that we've already tried this with the only notable success being for 2020-2021, that hasn't yet been yielded the fruits of our labor. We're looking for a structural solution, not an arbitrary one. So even if the next e-board is willing to commit to increasing awareness, there's no saying that the next e-board will. And then finally, the last one is that we can just pass a resolution mandating that they be filled. To be honest, this resolution is just, or this idea is just very idealistic. If it were that easy that we could just pass a resolution mandating the seats be filled, there would never be a single vacancy in either SGA or the University Senate. Students will only do it if they're willing to do it. We can't force them to. That's well beyond our authority. And keeping in mind that filling these seats is already a priority, a mandate doesn't solve any of the current obstacles or shortfalls. If you have any questions about any of those or any additional concerns you'd like to bring up, please do so.
All right, so I do have a question. Why wasn't this included in the email before the meeting? I can't see it. Also, I'm not sure if this has been discussed in the specifics of what we have now, and even if it has been, there are some pretty clear differences in terms of opinions. We've made a lot of progress since yesterday. I think some of these new inclusions are great, but a lot of people have pretty stark opinions. So I think because of that, more discussion is needed. We've been discussing this the whole year, as you guys have pointed out, but there's still progress that needs to be made. And because of that, I'm going to make a motion for this to be voted, or for this to be tabled for next year. I think that's what's best, because I don't think everybody is on board with this as is, and more changes need to be made. So if anybody wants to second that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, Najira, so we are, okay, so the motion that was seconded is to table this bill for next semester, the beginning of next session.
And are you asking, or?
She's going to call out the votes momentarily, just so you know.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So
Lauren?
I abstain.
Carlos?
What was that?
Carlos?
Oh.
Yvette?
No.
Melanie? Maggie?
No.
Ricky?
No.
Hima?
No.
Sarah?
No.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Karima?
Yes.
Bernard? Harrison?
No.
Will?
No.
Glass?
Yes.
Kevin? Kevin? Akwe?
No.
Transit?
No.
Okay, just to make sure, Kevin didn't answer, so I'm not sure if he's still here.
Oh, I said yes.
Oh, okay. And then also Melanie, I'm not sure if she's still here. Oh, abstain. Give me a second. Okay, so there's 9 no's, 4 yes, and 3 abstaining, so we will not be taking this.
Okay, we need a motion to extend the time for another 30 minutes. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the tally? It cut out on my end over here for the votes. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so we have to vote on extending the time for 30 more minutes. Okay, Lauren?
Yes.
Carlos? Yvette?
Yes.
Melanie? Maggie?
Yes, extend the time.
Vicky,
Yes.
Yuma,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Carolyn,
No.
Rima,
No.
Manar,
No.
Harrison,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Abbas,
No.
Kevin,
In.
was that a yes? Kevin, yeah, I don't know if he's saying anything. Akwe
Yes.
and Tanansit.
Yes.
All right, so did Kevin answer? I'm not sure. I didn't hear him. Oh, okay. So there's 12 yes and 4 no. So we're extending the time.
And as we head back into the debating portion for
30
this,
minutes.
I would just like to take a moment and address one thing that was said during the motion, the previous motion, is that the list that I compiled was actually in the previous meeting that we had. I actually took time during the meeting to verify that all the points that I had listed were in fact an accurate representation of their viewpoints. I just wanted to put that out there so that that wasn't in question. Does anyone have any additional questions that they would like to ask about the bill or its enactment?
Yeah, I just want to point something out. So in the past, we've set like a certain precedent when we've come to vote on things on the record that have come to like different conflicts of interest in past sessions where senators have voted on things that they're involved in. They had to abstain and did abstain. So the people who are currently serving on University Senate and again next session should also abstain. Should also have to abstain in a vote to pass this specific bill.
In contrast to that, I would like to argue that anybody who is currently on the University Senate but is not serving on next year has no obligation to, as there's no conflict of interest, as these things don't go into effect until next year anyways.
All right. As of now, I believe there are 3 senators who are signed up for the next session as is, so they will have to abstain.
I'm sorry, Dean Williams, could you clarify this as parliamentarian?
Is the question, I'm sorry, the question on the table is abstention from voting?
Yeah, so I'm citing the times that in the past where senators have had to abstain when they're involved in something that's being voted on. So I'm saying that the senators who are serving on University Senate should also have to abstain from voting on something that would affect them because there's a clear conflict of interest.
So, in terms of the Constitution, which is again the only thing I can reference, there is a reference in the bylaws within allocations board that mentions abstaining from voting if there is a potential conflict of interest. However, that is specific in the allocations board bylaw. So I think if you're opening it up to interpretation and looking at precedence that's been set, and I think you all should look at the records of what has been voted on in the past and to see whether precedence has been set, because constitutionally it is does appear to be limited to the allocations board.
And I'm sorry, I know there was a motion to table earlier, but Najira, could you put in the chat like the records for who voted yes, no, and abstention? Because I feel like the at least what I recorded was a little bit different.
So, just based on, I think we all do remember and recall times that we've seen senators abstain when they've been involved in something that is directly impacted by the vote. So, based on that, anyone who's serving on University Senate next session and is signed up, that should also abstain. It is a clear conflict of interest, if any. I mean, that shouldn't really be debatable. It's just kind of obvious.
So in this case, I would say that it's really, in terms of the Constitution, you all don't clearly address abstentions, but I can just say based on best practices, if there is a perception of a conflict of interest, then it is in the best interest of the individual voting to make a decision on whether they can abstain. But under no circumstances can a officer be told they must abstain unless there is per the Constitution a conflict of interest. So I would say if you all have your constitutions out, just make sure that you're familiar with the wording, and if there's something that you want to bring to question, now is the time.
Yeah, I just see it like a clear conflict of interest, giving certain people voting power on SGA through this bill who weren't elected to SGA. There's just a clear conflict of interest because it's it's directly tied to the person voting. So, if there was anything that was a conflict of interest, I think this would really be it.
I just want to take a moment as well. I hope that wasn't Sabrina that just left, because it's actually her comment that I was wanting to address. So this is an allegation that has been launched at us a couple of times now, a baseless accusation that any of the work that we've done in this constitutional committee has anything to do with the elections. First, I want to remind you that half of this committee is serving on the executive board for next year. And then second, I would also like to remind everybody that these have been conversations that have been happening since the beginning of the year. Nothing is new and nothing has changed because of elections. I don't appreciate the baseless accusations targeting our character, and it's blatantly defamation.
It may not be baseless, because it's not just like whoever's saying this is going off of nothing. I think, we should consider objectively, what the concerns are. But I do want to point out that the primary purpose of this committee, the main problem with our Constitution is that it hasn't had those amendments that were passed years ago that were added. And that's been really holding us back from using the Constitution as something we can use. And this committee has not sought to find any of that information to add to the Constitution, which is just, I don't know, it's really odd to me. Like,
So can I make a motion for discussion, because I feel as though people have just been expressing their opinions, but given the circumstances, I think relying on Robert's rules might be more conducive. So a motion to discuss this issue for another 20 minutes, so that'll give us some time to make another motion to extend for time if need be.
Second that.
I second.
Second.
So just to clarify, the motion that was seconded by Lauren was a motion to discuss the issue of the proposed amendments to the bylaw at hand for another 20 minutes.
All right, so Lauren? you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so Lauren,
Yes.
Carlos, Yvette,
Yes.
Melanie, Maggie,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Hima,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Carolyn, Karima,
No.
Lenore, Harrison,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Abbas,
Abstain.
Kevin,
Abstain.
wait, sorry, Kevin, what did you say?
I said abstain.
Abstain? Akwe,
Yes.
Transit, she's still here, I don't know. Transit? Yes. Okay, was Carolyn here when I called? She didn't answer. All right, so if motion passes to discuss this for another 20 minutes.
All right, thank you. If I may be granted the floor to speak.
Granted.
Thank you. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you for taking the time, and thank you for recognizing me. As part of the Constitutional Committee, I feel as though we have carried out the duties to the mission with the best intents, and we have spent a very, very thorough amount of time going through the entire Constitution and bylaws for the first time in 5 years. Personally, I've spent probably over 20 hours on this issue over the course of just the past week, not accounting for even the times that I've been bringing this up since the beginning of the semester. So I personally feel as though the Constitutional Committee has been putting in the work and has been doing their best to interpret and fix the Constitution. In fact, the first two bills that we passed today were specifically to change it and clarify things so that we have a working Constitution. I do see this third bill as an extension of that efforts. Thank you.
So just a question. Will the senators who are serving in University Senate next session abstain on this vote that clearly impacts them directly?
May I speak, Chief of Staff?
Yes, floor is yours.
So I think that although there have been the allegations that this has ulterior motives, personally, I feel as though there's no need for abstention because this is directly relevant to them because it concerns the future of University Senate. And having had that experience in University Senate also grants them the ability to speak on that behalf. I do appreciate your attempts to maintain like I do appreciate your attempts to ensure the future of SGA as we move forward, but I feel that accusations against character do not serve that purpose. And if there are any specific issues with the bill, I request that you address the ideas or the language themselves rather than attacking the people.
Yes. So all allegations aside that other members have stated, that my question really has nothing to do with that. I don't mean to direct it in that way of any kind of purpose behind this. I'm just pointing out that if the senators who vote on this, who will be serving in University Senate, vote on this, they're voting on giving themselves more power. And increasing the capacity of their position. So that's why I think it's unethical, not because of any kind of like purpose. It's just that it's directly affecting the person voting in a positive way.
I just want to say something. So as someone who's graduating and won't be part of the SGA next year, I just want to say to make a comment about your point, Dylan. It's not necessarily granting more power because, as you could see this year, the university senators also served on the actual SGA board, and we did not see a more grant of power being administered. If anything, it helped the SGA and it became that segue between University Senate and the actual SGA. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it is a grant of more power since it evidently was very, very successful this year. And we saw the hard work that the university senators did by attending the monthly meetings and reporting back to us and all of that. So it definitely would not be seen as a more grant of power since they had these voting privileges before. Not to say that, yes, they were, one was an academic senator, one was a media senator, but they still had these voting privileges before, and there was never a situation where we saw an abuse of power or too much power, too little power. So I wouldn't really necessarily call that a valid statement to defy the bill. That's just what
I think that point holds truth to it. I think that's a good point. But my issue is the fact that if this were to happen, then there's the potential to give voting power on the SGA board to members who are not elected whatsoever. And I think the student body would not like that. I think the student body is largely has no idea what's going on with this bill right now, just because of the late timeline. And I think many people could be upset about this.
I would just like to take a moment and direct that back to the point that I already answered about it being unethical to give students power who weren't elected, and that these students will be elected. The reason that they're appointed more so now than elected is because of a lack of participation, something that we aim to fix. Currently, there are other vacancies with voting power that are appointed as well. It makes no difference here. That's how I got into the Senate as well. And then also that university senators already have voting power, except their vote affects all campuses, not just Rutgers Newark. So if they're going to represent Rutgers Newark on a much larger scale, they should also be able to represent Rutgers Newark locally.
I was also hoping. Oh, sorry. If anyone was talking, I was hoping I could just express a question. If that's fine.
Absolutely.
So my issue with this is, with what's going on in the world right now, we're going through something that, I've never really experienced in my lifetime. This is a pandemic that I feel like is super harmful and super scary for a lot of us. And it's not something that I even, remember ever facing before. And for Rutgers, this is a very big deal. My only issue is because this bill wants to do a lot in terms of checks and balances in the government. I feel like during a time of a pandemic, we have to be very careful about, what changes we are proposing that are major. Because during a time like this, I feel like this is a time when we need like clear leadership, and we need to be sure that the person who's going to be in charge can do that. And what I'm afraid is these changes might be coming at a time when we need a little more consistency and just assurance. So if anyone who is, supporting these changes, can explain how it will go into effect with this pandemic going on, I'd love to hear that opinion.
If I may be recognized to speak.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you. So I've conducted thorough research into how other student governments have conducted themselves in regards to university senate and other formal structures like this. I would say that's probably the first time any kind of analysis has been done to improve the state of our student government, and the first time, again, that anyone has examined the bylaws in the past 5 years. And I would like to say, although Rutgers University is unique because we have shared governance, University Senate is merged with the legislative body and is in fact part of the legislative body for both Rutgers Camden and Rutgers New Brunswick. And examining the structures of RUSA in particular was one of the main reasons behind this bill. And it is not coming from an uninformed perspective. It is based on the checks and balances that we are learning from RUSA, that we are learning from all the other student governments. The structure will be so that the chief of staff of the Senate will have the ability to check the university senators. So it is not similar to merging state and national governments because Rutgers Student Governing Association cannot really be fully compared to either of those bodies, and it does not impede with the process. At least regards to coronavirus and the current pandemic, I'm sure we're all very stressed right now, and this is a difficult time. But I think that this will also allow for university senators to play a role in helping to shape and represent students moving forward into the next semester, because I think now more than ever, representation in student government is important, and university senators' voice is important, especially since there are such broad institutional changes happening. Thank you.
And if I may be recognized to speak.
Yes.
I'd like to speak about this as well.
Will first, then Carolyn.
Okay, awesome. So I guess the response will come after Carolyn is done speaking, but I actually wanted to address your question specifically, Kevin. I know it's something that you brought up in the chat, something I'd like to hear more of. I'd like to know specifically, like in your idea for how this could be enacted later, what difference it actually makes if it's enacted now versus later, considering that with the planning that's been done for next semester, if it's online or if it's in person, then the university would be opening up anyways. And if it's online, I personally, at least, I'm not seeing what concrete harms there would actually be with that. While I do understand a generalized notion of wanting the sameness and like security to an extent, I don't foresee how, given how things have already changed with coronavirus, something that's a change like this would make a difference.
May I respond to that, or should I wait for Carolyn?
Let's do Carolyn first, and then Kevin, you can speak.
Okay.
So I just want to comment on like my opinion about this whole thing. We discussed this more yesterday for those who weren't here, and one of the reasons why a lot of us are objecting to it because all of it is just last minute, and we've already chosen the university senate senators for next year. A lot of them aren't willing to attend the Monday meetings, and just saying that they're exempt from attending doesn't really solve the issue because it would take away their right from attending the meeting if that was really a bill that was passed. It wouldn't be fair for some to attend and some not to attend. It would just defy the purpose of adding that in the bill. But not only that, if we were to pass such a bill, it wouldn't really affect next year's like it would affect next year's senators to have them not attend the meeting, but at the same time, why can't we just pass it in the spring for the year after that? So I feel as though if this bill was passed as of now, a lot of senators, it wouldn't be fair for a lot of senators because a lot of them aren't able to attend the meetings. And at the same time, it's just all last minute where I mean, we had to extend the meeting like twice, 30 minutes, and a lot of us aren't really able to discuss this because we have other responsibilities on Monday, such as other classes. And I feel as though we need to dedicate more time to discussing this issue. And it's just not fair for those who aren't able to make it or aren't able to express their opinions more. And like we said regarding yesterday's meeting, it was all last minute. A lot of people weren't able to attend. I mean, those who were able to attend, we were discussing it for like more than 3 hours, and it still wasn't enough. So I feel as though we need more time to discuss it, and it just wouldn't be fair because, like I said, we've already chosen university senators for next year, and it wouldn't really apply to them. So the only solution would be to just have it on the spring semester elections and then pass it for the year afterwards.
Okay, I just also want to add that, my concerns are very different from everything that has been expressed by all the senators today. I've read through the changes, I've read through everything, and I personally like what I see in it, but I just want to stress that, we don't even know what's going to happen next semester. I've talked to many faculty, and we're not even sure if we're going to open. They're still trying to look at how this pandemic is spreading and where it could possibly affect. My concern is if we do go online and we implement these new rules immediately, it's already been hard this semester to meet. I can tell you that it's been very hard for us, to spend our time and meet regularly and debate these issues. Yesterday's meeting, I don't even think was a real meeting, and it went for 3 hours. So I'm just worried that even if we meet in person next semester or we meet virtually, I feel like the way the culture that the Senate is having right now, I'm just worried that there's going to be too much, hostility and too much judgment, and nothing is really going to get done to help the students in our Rutgers campus. And I just want, assurances that no matter what happens, we're not going to be doing anything that makes it harder for those newly elected. That's what I've consistently been saying today that I'm worried about, and I just hope they can be addressed. Thank you.
I missed in the chat. Do I have the floor?
Yes.
Okay. Just quickly, I would like to just address that notion. Kevin, I think that, there's definitely some validity to that. But I would like to believe that as we are all adults and ethical leaders, that regardless of how any of us feel individually about this vote, that I would like to think that it's something that would not prohibit us from being able to work together in the future for the betterment of the SGA.
Okay, thank you.
Can there be a motion to vote? Or
Second.
okay.
Okay, so we're voting on the proposed legislation. Just hold on a second, because Najira has to go, so I'm just gonna set it up and then count the votes. So just give me a moment.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, Harrison,
Yes.
Abbas,
Wait, what's the motion for again? Sorry.
They're voting on the bill to pass the bill.
No.
Akwe,
Yes.
Carolyn,
No.
Hema,
Yes.
Yvette,
Yes.
Karima. Okay. Kevin,
Abstain.
Right now, Phil said, and we'll talk about this, he just has a bunch of questions.
Corolos,
But he has
Corolos. Okay, gotcha. Lauren,
Yes.
I got you, Kevin. Don't worry. Lauren,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Manar,
No.
Melanie, Melanie. Got it. Okay, sorry. I saw the chat. Ricky,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Tananzit. Okay. Will.
I proudly affirm.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna count the votes and then put. I'm gonna come back with the numbers. Okay. I'm gonna put the results in the chat. So the bill does pass with a majority vote at this time. Being that it is the last meeting and all of the aforementioned conversation, the executive board's going to exercise for the first time its veto power. So the bill is now vetoed back to the Senate for a 2/3 vote. And I will tell you the numbers momentarily of what would be needed. In the meantime, you could further discuss if you want, or you could just wait. So the executive board, just going to saying to Maggie, yeah, all members agreed to this. You can reach out to them. It's not necessary for them to all explicitly show a vote in the chat, but they do all agree to this, and we've been communicating, and the board does exercise its veto power.
But given that a senator has to be present to be able to vote, shouldn't the same thing apply for the executive board? If they want to be able to vote, they have to be present?
Any member, so Sabrina was here, and she had to go because it's been far long. She has a doctor's appointment, but I do have in writing consent from her to veto the bill in its current form. And the current members of the executive board, no matter if there's only one remaining, can also veto exercise the right to veto.
If I may add on, I think in the Constitution it just says the executive branch. Okay, thank you, Dean Williams.
Yeah, so I'll just you guys can continue discussion, but I'm just gonna come up with the numbers necessary for a 2/3 vote and put it in the chat before you do anything. So you could wait or discuss, it's whatever. One moment.
You again, Dylan.
Okay, so there are 17 senators present. 12 votes are required for a 2/3 vote.
Hold up. Where's the 17th? I only see 16.
Did someone leave? Let me see. Because I counted 17 votes for the yes, no, and abstain. Well, let me recount who's here. Yeah, so there are 17 senators present, so 12 votes are required for a 2/3 vote in this case. If that's something you want to do.
I'd like to motion to put it to a vote.
Second.
Okay, so we are now voting to, I guess, repeal, I don't know what you'd call that, repealing the veto for a 2/3 vote to pass the bill. So I will call out the names momentarily. Yes, override. Thank you, Harrison. Override the veto. Let me do a recount because I counted 17 votes just before. I have 17 names, so maybe someone just left. Yeah, no, there are more than 16 senators. So yeah, I made sure I triple checked, and I had more than 16 votes, 16 names. So 12 votes are required. We do have that motion on the table, so we're gonna go forward with it now. So this vote, to clarify, is to pass the bill that was proposed in its current form. Harrison,
Yes.
Abbas,
No.
Akwe,
Yes.
Carolyn,
No.
Hema,
Yes.
Iveth,
Yes.
Karima,
No.
Kevin,
Abstain.
Krolos. Okay. Lauren,
Yes.
okay. Maggie,
Yes.
Manar,
No.
Melanie, Melanie, okay. Ricky, okay, I got you, Melanie. Ricky,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Tananzit, okay. So I'm trying to check the chat too. Will,
Yes.
okay, 1 second. I'm gonna tally the results. The bill does not pass. We have 10 for yes, 4 for no, and 3 for abstain. The same results as before.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. If I may interject, there were 3 abstentions, so they do not get count at the final tally. So in reality, that is 14 votes casted. The abstentions count as if they were not here. So it's really
Abstentions count as a no.
they do not count as a no.
Dean Williams.
If you look at Robert's Rules Order, whenever you abstain, you basically don't put anything between yes or no. So it's determined based on who actually voted yes and who actually voted no. So by that means there was 14 people who casted a vote for yes or no. 10 out of 14 is more than 2/3, so it passes.
This is false.
Yeah.
In the past, for other sessions, we've always counted abstentions as no. And to my knowledge, in Robert's Rules of Order, it's still counted as a no because you still need a whatever amount of that body to vote.
You need 2/3 of a vote from people who are present. By voting an abstention, that means you're just voting present, but you're not choosing a side.
If an abstention meant no, what would be the point of an abstention?
The point of an
I agree with that
abstention
statement.
is kind of like an ethical neutrality. You don't want to really pick a side, but in effect, it does work as a no in voting because it doesn't count as a yes. It does not count as 14.
It
guess we could wait for clarification from Dean Williams.
Hi. Okay. So sorry. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can mute my other call. So the question is about abstentions and how do those count? Is that the question?
So I'll tell you the results. So we have 10 yes, 3 no. 10 yes, 4 no, and 3 abstentions. Now the question is, do those abstentions count towards no, or do they count towards the total vote of 17, or are you only totaling the votes from the yeses and nos?
So it would be, okay, so essentially if you're abstaining, then those votes would not be included in the total tally. So treat an abstention, so when you're factoring in supermajority and trying to calculate that, you said it's how many no's? How many abstentions?
There are 3 abstentions.
So you have 3 abstentions, 4 no's, and 10 yes?
Yes.
So that's 17 total?
Yes.
Okay, so you would take the supermajority would be out of the 14 votes. So you need 2/3 of the 14.
Okay. All right. Well, I just remember in the past, then we've messed up and counted the abstentions as no.
Well, it's definitely 2/3 of 14. So if you're looking for a supermajority, then and you have 10-4, then it would pass because it's the supermajority.
Yeah. In this case, the bill does pass.
You all want to vote again?
No, we already voted.
I think we should vote again because there wasn't that understanding. Some people were unsure.
Yeah, we've been functioning with abstention counting as no, and the way we've counted votes all year. So,
I mean, you cannot ask people not to abstain, but I would encourage because this is an important bylaw that for those who did abstain get to consider actually voting yay or nay. And that way it's very clear, in terms of the record itself. But that's up to you all. You all would have to present a motion to vote again after having that information explained, and then, obviously tally accordingly.
Okay, so someone can put a motion if they want to
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
Yes, motion to adjourn the meeting.
I think staff are compelled to do a resume writing, and that can't be distance, right? So if
It
you're
was
going to
seconded in the chat.
something that now
All right.
handling
So the motion to adjourn the meeting and skip the other items on the agenda. We have Harrison,
Abstain.
Abbas,
Abstain.
Aquay,
Abstain as well.
Carolyn,
Are we still voting on the last bill, or is it?
this is to vote to adjourn the meeting.
What about the one about University Senate?
So that has passed, and then someone was able to put a motion to say to revote because we did not have certain knowledge and understanding around abstain. But then now there is a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So no.
Hema, Yvette,
Yes.
Karima,
No.
Kevin,
Abstain.
Korolos, Lauren,
Yes, due to time.
Maggie,
Abstain.
Manar,
No.
Melanie, Ricky,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Tananzit, Will,
Yes.
I declare the meeting adjourned.
All right.
Good luck,
I just want to. Oh, sorry. I just want to say, guys, I want to thank you all for just being amazing. Honestly, like I'm not gonna be an SGA next year. I'm gonna try to be involved as much as I can, but thank you all for a good semester. I just want to leave this on a happy note because I know that we had a very tough hour deciding between this bill. So, yeah, I want to wish you all the best.
Best of luck on finals, everyone. Take care and stay well. I wish the best to you and your families.